Hey, Middle Age Gamers, welcome back to the latest episode of the Middle Age Gaming Podcast. We are joined today by Antoine, Adam, and myself as usual. Hope you enjoyed the last week's episode. Hope you enjoyed the shorts. What has been your favorite short this week? I loved Adam's spider destroying stuff. I wish it was larger though, like you could scale it up some way, but I mean, that's something else to talk about. Today, we are in for another week full of news, reviews, stories, things you should keep an eye out for. So if you listen to this on the podcast, right, you might want to Google some things. Or if you're watching the video, that's always the best choice. Don't forget to catch Adam streaming as well. And with those announcements out of the way, let's jump straight into this week's stories. And I think today we'll start off with Adam first.
My first one. All right. So my first story is just that today is that's the wrong one. Is the PlayStation Showcase. And yeah, I mean, it's actually tomorrow. It'll be 4 a.m. for me here. So unfortunately, I'm not going to be able to watch it. But if you are living in the US or Canada, it is going to be at 1 p.m. Pacific time. And if you are in the UK, it is at 9 p.m. British Standard Time. So we do not have a lot of information about it. We know it's going to be about an hour long. They say a little bit longer than an hour. No definitive information on which games are going to show up. There's lots of rumors out there about what's going to be showing up. And there's lots of rumors of things that are not going to be showing up. So, yeah, a lot of people are spreading that, but really no definitive information on what we are going to see. However, PlayStation has come out and said that there are going to be some new games coming out that we haven't seen yet. And we're going to see a lot of... The focus is going to be on PlayStation VR and PlayStation 5, obviously.
Gonna speculate, Adam. I've got to ask you to do it. Tell me about the rumors.
Okay, so there's lots of rumors going about Ghost of Tsushima 2, but then there's also the equivalent rumor going around saying no, all the Ghost of Tsushima 2 is not going to be showing up. There's lots of people are talking. Some people are saying that what is that game? GTA 6 is going to be showing up. Obviously, there's no confirmation whether GTA 6 is going to be there or not. There's lots of rumors about exclusivity. Some people are saying GTA 6 is going to be a timed exclusive. Most people are out there saying, like, no way. There's no way that's going to happen. Rockstar is not going to be doing timed exclusivity with a franchise that big. So, yeah. And then also possibly some Final Fantasy VII Rebirth, because now that Final Fantasy 16 is out, or going to be out very, very soon, that's the next one that people are going to be waiting for. So those are the bigger titles, but then there's lots of really small, things like, new Killzone, new Sly Cooper, new Infamous, obviously any game that PlayStation has ever made before, people are talking about. And Pragmata, which is a title that was shown right before the PlayStation 5 was showcased, and we haven't really heard much about it. So a lot of people are expecting us to get more information on that finally. Personally, I'm hoping that Little Devil Inside isn't dead yet. So that's my personal hope, but I'm not holding out for that.
What's your take, Antoine?
I'm finding that there's a lot of expectation to it. So if none of the rumors are, earth-shattering like a GTA 6, it's gonna be, I don't know, like a big flop. So let's hope that at least there's one big thing, and never hoped for too much. Don't listen to the rumors, We're not inside the studios. You don't know what's happening. So I'm more on the realistic side, If something big happens, then yay! If nothing happened, then I wasn't expecting anything, so that's fine.
We need another person who's interested in speculation besides me, because you guys are just like, keep saying it every episode, right? Same brain people.
I don't like to speculate because, you're going to be like, oh, right, this is going to be awesome. And then the next day you're just angry Joe.
That's fine. It's disappointment. This gaming is so expensive these days. You get one disappointment. There's still like 150 other things to be excited about. It's just...
Oh, I'm excited. I just don't have any expectations. Because, I really, like I said, I really would love to see Little Devil Inside coming out. But we haven't seen anything on that for over a year. So I'm expecting that's probably vaporware at this point, or near vaporware. I'm sure we're going to get something on Stellar Blade. That's probably going to show up. That's been another big PlayStation kind of game that they're touting. And again, they did say that they're coming out with some new stuff. So, when they're coming out with new stuff, if it's a new IP, how could you possibly speculate what that's going to be, right? Because you're just spitballing in the dark. It's like, oh, okay, I think they're going to make a new game where you are a fly and you know, Mr. Mosquito or something. I mean, it's just, you know, there's no, yeah, it's just, I have no expectations, so I'm going into this with open arms and saying like, this is awesome, and I'm just excited to see what's going to be there.
I think my most interesting speculative thing that I have been reading or talking about, not really talking about, but reading, is the idea that Sony might tone down the PC release times to be within 6 months of PlayStation release times. And this is the PC gamer perspective, right? And I had planned to get a PS5 at some point, and I'm like, oh, I got a Switch already. There's no point. But yeah, no, I think this would be a fantastic idea. There's lots of PlayStation IPs. I mean, there's Horizon Forbidden Zero, which I have still been, not Forbidden Zero, Zero Dawn. God damn it.
And Forbidden West, you combine them.
But yeah, no, I mean, like that is a game I've been wanting to play. I got Uncharted on PC when I bought my new AMD CPU. That is really fun. I was enjoying it a lot. I just was not in the mood for it at the time. But I mean, I think apparently people have been waiting for Bloodborne on PC for forever, and that's a thing. There's a loads, like I loved the Ace Combat series on PlayStation, going back to like Ace Combat 1. And I have a bunch of them on PC, still haven't played those. So, but I mean, like, this sounds really bad. I'm saying I'm not playing any of these games, but I just have a big Steam collection, as you guys know. But I think it's good, right? Like, I think putting your games on PC is good. PC is still a huge market. There's laptops. There is going to be streaming. There's going to be cloud streaming at some point straight to your big 55 or 90 or 105-inch TV at some point. So, it's going to make sense to put your games in a place where people can enjoy them and have fun, and they don't have to have a console. And I think maybe, like Adam and I talked about this before, it's like maybe that is the eventual goal for all these companies, not just, maybe not Nintendo, but I would say Sony and Xbox stop putting huge amounts of money into expensive hardware and just do streaming for, again, I hate saying this, the first world, right? Where you have those 100, 200, 300, 400 megabit connections for cheap amounts of money. And you can afford to stream games onto your TV in 4K while your wife is watching Netflix and your kids are watching Disney Plus, right? And nothing's going to destroy your home internet like that. So yeah, coming back to it, yeah, I think releasing games on PC, ideally, I'm still hoping Sony will eventually move to the point of it comes out on the PlayStation and it comes out on the PC at the same time. I don't think that's going to be soon, but yeah, that is something, as a speculation, I'm really interested.
Well, did you hear the Jim Ryan interview about that, though? Because he did an interview recently about that. So Jim Ryan did an interview recently, and he said that the current plan is for PlayStation games to be released.
Oh, who is Jim Ryan, by the way?
Jim Ryan is he's basically the Phil Spencer of PlayStation. Is that a CEO or is that a different position? I don't.
Yeah, he's the Phil Spencer is CEO of Xbox, but I don't know what is Jim Ryan. I don't even know who Jim Ryan was.
He's basically the same thing. Okay. But he came out and he said that they have no plans moving forward for, or they have plans moving forward to put PlayStation games on PC. But when they look at, obviously they want people to buy them on PlayStation because, if they're buying them on PlayStation, they get a huge chunk of the profit. Whereas if they sell them on, Steam and stuff, they make a smaller profit. So basically, the optimal time that they've found currently and the plan that they're going to be sticking to is 2 to 3 years between the PlayStation release and the PC release, which personally I think is a bit long. I would have said 6 months to a year would have been, in my opinion, optimal, because I feel like, most of your people that are going to be playing it at release are probably going to be playing it within the first 2 to 3 months. And then after that, most people are probably waiting for sales anyway, right? So I would say if it was me, I'd say 6 months to a year would be, I feel like, a sweet spot to release a game, because I feel like you've already had that initial, hype and that rush, and then it's starting to die down, but it hasn't completely died down yet, and then you get that second rush. I feel like 2 to 3 years later, most people have forgotten about the game at that point. And, people will look at it and they'll say like, oh, right. Oh, yeah, I did want to play that. But, I've lost my hype for it because I did forget it. I did let it die. It's like trying to restart a fire versus just adding more to some smoldering embers. But he did say 2 to 3 years is going to be the target for moving from console games to PC. So
2 to 3 after, I wouldn't pay full price for that, right?
it would. I don't know what the prices would be. I don't know. Yeah. I mean, because they would be offered on Steam and stuff, so you'd be having whatever deals Steam and stuff would be offering.
Zero Dawn, I bought it pre-release. It was not like the $60-$70 price anyway. I think it was about $40 when I bought it.
Yeah, so yeah, standard whatever Steam prices would be, I guess.
I feel like PlayStation has these standard prices. Like I remember seeing Uncharted was $25, and that was like the Legacy Edition, something like that. So they have like typical PC enhancements. The Last of Us 2, of course, was horribly optimized. I don't know what happened there on PC, but yeah. Anyway, let's move on to Antoine's story. Antoine, what is your first story?
I'll start with Blue Protocol, if you want to put the video on. So just to give you a feedback on what's happening on the market, especially in Asia, you have Genshin Impact, you have Tower Fantasy, you have Honkai Rail, I think, lately. All of these Asian free MMO. And Bandai Namco, which I'm sure you know, but just if you don't, remember that Bandai Namco is the latest Scarlet Nexus, all the Tales of saga with the Tales of Arise from last year. There are Tekken 8, on which they are actually very much pressured to release a game because there was Street Fighter 6 and Mortal Kombat 1 very soon. So Bandai Namco is very pressured to release a Tekken. So they are trying to attack this very lucrative market of free MMOs. They released on 2022 a very cool video at the Game Awards. And it looked fantastic. I'm usually not very interested in this kind of free games. I tried because Eric, my colleague, who appeared in the show last year, is very much into this game. He tried to make me play, and after 10 hours of game, I lose interest very fast. But here we are talking about Bandai Namco. They are, like RPG, JRPG is in their blood. It's what they do for the past 20 years. So I'm expecting a lot there. And the bad news is that they're gonna delay it until 2024. So what's happening is that they release a Japanese version next month as planned on June 14th or something like this. But the localization is gonna have to wait until 2024. So we don't know exactly the reason why. So here you can speculate. Because some people say, it's because they need to do the Tekken 8 very fast, but it doesn't really make sense because Tekken RPG, definitely not the same team. Bandai Namco is still a 1,200 people company. 100% sure it's not the same teams who do the two games. So I don't think one is pulling resource from another. I would be surprised, correct me if I'm wrong, but I would be surprised. So not sure why, but yeah, they say 2024 and they didn't say winter, spring, summer, we don't know yet. So if you were waiting like me to try Blue Protocol because it's a free RPG game, a free MMO, you'll have to wait. Like me, you'll have to wait. That's sad, but yeah, that's how it is. So do you guys know about this one?
I did not know at all, but I was excited. I'm not excited, but I was interested to see Amazon Games attached to the name as well. So I'm wondering how much of the bill Amazon footed for this.
That's also a salvage plan for Amazon, because Amazon Games did a couple of MMO which really didn't work, like Lord of the Rings. Another one, I can't remember the name, but they did a couple and it just didn't work. So with this, they are trying to relaunch, the MMO space. And I think there's a new Lord of the Rings they are they are working on really plan for 2024. So, Amazon is really trying to rehide their MMO, which is overly dominated, of course, by FF14 and Warcraft, still, strangely, 20 years later.
What do you think, Adam?
I'd heard of the name, but I didn't know too much about it. So is this more of, so it's an RPG. I mean, is this going to be closer to, say, Genshin Impact, where you're unlocking multiple characters through a gacha system and then, completing world things that way, or is this going to be more of a traditional MMO, like say World of Warcraft or Final
Would
Fantasy,
be
where you have your one character and you're partying up with other people?
That would be my take, because I would be extremely surprised and disappointed if they adopted any kind of gacha, because it's just not what they do. And if they try gacha, I don't think it would work, because it's just not what they're used to work on. So I really imagine that it would be a more classic kind of MMO.
So, you know what their money making model is going to be then? I mean, if the game is free and there's no gacha, how they making money?
Very good question. I don't know, because the game might be free, but you can still pay subscription onto it. So I don't know. I'm waiting to see the launch of the game. There was some free games before, like Fly for Fun, which didn't have gacha. So it can work,
So maybe kind of a Ultima, not Ultima, Elder Scrolls Online kind of deal then.
Probably. So we'll see, but I really hope there's no gacha, and I don't think there will be. So I'm really waiting for it.
Cool. I know this is, interestingly, just beyond the Amazon Games part, but I was like thinking about like this timing of online MMORPGs and like mobile. I would imagine this will be mobile as well, or maybe mobile first. Is this going to be mobile first or PC first?
PC.
PC.
It's PC in June in Japan.
Oh, PC in June in Japan. Okay. That makes
but 2024
sense.
for the rest. Problem of localization. So I don't know. Did they have any issue with any third party doing the voice acting or translation of things like this?
I think my speculation is again, I'm gonna throw that word around, is that it's going to be a cost issue. That, hey, look, it's dangerous to release massive games and paying for server infrastructure right when we don't know how well it's going to do. Let's release it in Japan. There was a podcast we did like last year, I remember, and it was a game Adam was talking about, and I remember you can watch the Japanese version of this game on YouTube and a whole lot of videos. I cannot remember the game for the life of me. But I remember watching it. I'm like, okay, this is cool. And it had already been a year or something like that, right? And I remember looking up the Steam stats or something like that, and was only available on Steam in Japan. And I think when it hit this like critical number of players, like, okay, this is doing well. Okay, now we're gonna go make the English version. So maybe that's a thing, because I can imagine like Asian audiences and Western audiences are super different. So it's like, I always watch these YouTube videos online which they talk about these Korean MMOs which come to the West and then die, like Black Desert. Like there's a bunch of other games, right, that just don't work. I would even say Genshin Impact is primarily successful in Asia, rather like comparing audience sizes, right? Like
yes,
20%. Yeah, go ahead.
No, but again, you're talking about Genshin Impact because it is in the MMO free market, but I expect the game to be completely different, right? Because Genshin Impact, Honkai Raid, all of this is completely aimed at Asian people. Here we're talking about Bandai Namco. They know Western people have been working for them primarily rather than Asian for, of course, Japan being their main market, but I mean, they know what Westerner wants, and I would be surprised if it's like this because they are financially solid, right? They have lots of big IPs. They have released very successful titles recently. So why would they be cold feet like this all of a sudden? Because maybe it's something they never did, MMO? That'd be really surprising because, it's kind of while launching a new thing, let's put all in, all the cards on the table and let's not have, cold feet. That would be strange to be all of a sudden, whoa, we don't know if it's going to work. Let's be cold feet. Let's check the Japanese market. If the Japanese market works, maybe the Western will work. That's never worked this way before because Japanese taste and Western taste massively different.
True.
You can't
True.
You can't base your Japan at this much sales. Maybe it's gonna work. I'm planning to have this much in the West. That won't work.
Cool. I think we'll leave it at that. And let's move on to. I'm going to switch my first story to Starship Troopers Extermination, which is another sort of hidden gem that dropped this week. It is this week, actually. And again, if you're looking for more videos, this is something I will probably play at some point with my brothers, because this is like a multiplayer PvE horde survival, I guess is the right word, like Gears of War style game. Mass Effect style game as well, if you liked Mass Effects, and they had this sort of combat mode. But yeah, this was like really cool. I know there were like mods of games that were released, and that sort of like, hey, you can play Starship Troopers, but this is made by somebody who I'm not sure what it is, but I don't know who it is. But anyway, you Google Starship Troopers Extermination, you'll find it. But basically, you're a soldier. You drop ship onto the Earth and onto not the Earth, whatever planet it is.
Landatu.
Oh, see, I was never allowed to watch the movie when I was a kid, and I still have not watched it.
What a shame.
But no, I mean, why I like this game is just because this reminds me of a Deep Rock Galactic. This reminds me of all these, like, and we talked about this last week, right? The death of PvE, right? And this is actually a PvE game, right? Where you could be me, Adam, Antoine, Phil, right? And we're on the Earth, and we're like defending a point against the alien incursion. So this is a game in early access. It is pretty affordable at the moment. I was just looking at the FAQ. It's $25 at the moment. Planned early access for a year. And again, only on PC at the moment. There is no controller support, so you have to use keyboard and mouse. So if you're a controller person, unfortunately, you're going to have to wait. They said they will offer partial controller support. As not a controller person, I have no idea what that means. Maybe Adam can tell us what partial controller support means. But yeah, it's out. It's cool. It's already got like 8,800 reviews. It's by Off-World Industries, and that sounds so familiar. But yeah, anyway, cool game. Play with your friends. There's currently 2 modes. It's going to be releasing a lot more content over the next 1 year or so. I don't think this is going to come out within a year. So I don't think this is going to come out in May 2024. Just to the nature of the game, to it being PvE, to the times that we're living in, I think you're probably looking at this probably Q3, September 2024, probably December maybe if we're lucky. But yeah, if you're looking for a cool shooting, base building, crafting, objective game to play with friends, this is it.
I want to know more.
Yeah, check out the Steam page. I think, yeah, it's not on console though, which kind of sucks. So this would be like a PC page. But the cool thing is that this, oh my God, no. Would this work? No, this would not work on Adam's PC. I was just looking at the minimum specs. I'm like, oh yeah, this would work. Oh no, that's recommended. And I'm looking at minimum. Oh no, minimum is still not.
It looks really pretty.
It looks pretty good. I mean, it doesn't look like super intensive, but
no. I think
that's a lot of bugs. Huh?
Yeah,
you
Graphically,
need a good CPU for that. Right? I think texture-wise, you're fine, but like when I was watching videos, I'm like, this does not look like, it's not even made in Unreal 5. It's made in like the cheaper version of Unreal, which is like Unreal Frontiers, I guess, which is another version of the Unreal Engine. But yeah, no. Hopefully I'll get to play it at some point after I finish with Valheim.
You're going to need a lot of bugs on screen to do a good Starship Trooper game.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Yeah, you do.
But this looks fun. Like Deep Rock Galactic had bugs, and it was like awesome. I hated Deep Rock Galactic's like art style. I think this is much more fun.
I love how they finish with, would you like to know more? You have to watch the movie.
Yeah, you do need to see the movies.
See, you do. That's fantastic.
I don't watch movies like that. You guys already know.
Oh, Dennis Richards, come on.
So good. It's so cheesy. You got to watch all of them. There's 3 live actions. There's one like 3D anime one. Yeah, there's tons of them.
Just for the advertisement of the Federal Network of the Army, that's... Do you want to join the Army?
Get back in the box.
Exactly. I know, that's really, really cool. I'm going to watch that this weekend.
Yeah. All right, Adam, your second story for today, sir.
All right. So my second story for today is oh shoot, I forgot what it was. Hang on. Pull up the thing. Oh yeah, Total War Pharaoh. So apparently, I think this was even released just yesterday. Total War Pharaoh is coming out. That's a new game in the Total War franchise. They are coming out October 2023. So we don't have an exact date, but that is the plan. Is this year is currently available for pre-order, so you can pre-order it if you want. There are going to be 3 cultures during the Egyptian New Kingdom period. They are the Egyptian, the Canaanites, and the Hittites. Did I pronounce that correctly? And there's going to be 8 faction leaders. So I don't know if those 8 faction leaders are distributed among them or if you can use each faction leader for each culture. I'm not sure. They also, though, are going to be trying to make this game a little more accessible to people. And so because of it, they are adding a lot of new customization features to make it more enjoyable for people who are new. So they're going to have things like shifting weather, so you can have thunderstorms or sandstorms that are going to be impacting your battles. They're going to have things like fire that can spread through settlements or armies. So, you know, if you light this camp on fire, it'll spread through the camp, not just burn down this one building or whatever. And then they're also adding customization options such as random starting positions, various resource settings, and you can toy with the natural disasters. So you can say, I want more natural disasters, or I want fewer natural disasters. So all these kind of features are basically going to make it that you can kind of customize the game to function the way you want it to. If you want it to be more chaotic and just everything's just falling apart, you can do that. If you want to just have a more simple game, like the traditional style, and you're like, I don't really want to deal with the weather and all that, you can turn it off. So not too much information, as it is still very fresh, but if you're a Total War fan, definitely something worth looking into.
Antoine, are you looking into it?
No. I love Total War, and it's really good. It's just that what I love in Total War was the Warhammer, faction, and I wouldn't be able to play an Egyptian Warhammer without, having undead pharaohs, because that's, in Warhammer you have a few factions of Egyptian-based culture, which are undead King of the Tombs, or in Warhammer 40k, the Thousand Suns. Astartes, so I wouldn't be able to just play a classic normal classic human faction. I'm sure it's really good, but I'm gonna watch it in stream. I wouldn't play it. It's the same when they released the Three Kingdoms in China. It looked great, but the review at the start were mixed. So I'd rather watch someone else play and see if it's really fantastic. Then maybe I'll take it when it's cheap, in a year or two. But I wouldn't play day one. Again, this is a kind of game who has lots of DLCs down the road. So,
I have very little experience. I think the last Total War I played was Total War Shogun. I did play a Total War Warhammer once to check with my older brother. We played we're trying to figure out co-op. I don't know, it was not the most recent Total Warhammer, maybe it was number 2. And we tried that out. And I've always wanted to play these. These looked cool. But again, I think the time commitment for a Total War game has always thrown me off. I'm like, you have to spend more than an hour or in a session. Anton can correct me on that if that's true or not. But it always felt longer. And even like my brother, he's bought every single Total Warhammer, my older brother. And he has stopped playing them, I think, just because the game is just taken, even for him, too much time for him. So I think he's still going to buy these. He still buys all of them, but I think I can't remember the last time he played a single player campaign of a Total War game. And I mean, this makes me think about just sort of demographics of these games and who are they for and who's still playing them, given how the gaming market's expanded and options are expanded. So very cool. I won't even watch this on stream. I will sort of keep an eye out for it. And one day, if I retire and win the lottery, I'll probably play this.
I'll tell you another thing why I wouldn't play this one compared to Warhammer. And that's a bit of the critics I heard on Three Kingdoms. That you're coming out of Warhammer, who has elves, dwarf, humans, chaos, extra, etc. You have 20 plus factions with different gameplays each, right? Even between human factions, you have different type of gameplay, whether it's in the west, whether it's Grand Kate in the east, etc., etc. After that, you end up in Three Kingdoms with basically 3 main factions, and you don't really see the difference in gameplay because they're all human factions, and that's the same for Pharaoh. Egyptian, Hittites or Turkish, basically. Okay, what's different? They will fight with spear and bow and arrow and war chariots. Is there's really a big difference in gameplay between these three factions, and even if there is three factions big enough for the replay content, because that's it. With Total War, you replay it because you want to master the mechanics of each faction, because some of them are fun, very, very fun. And that's why, in Total War Warhammer, they put the bar very high. Try to get as many factions. So many factions are so much fun to play. And even just one, like the Orcs, I would replay the Orcs all the time, just with the different leaders. So yeah, that's just how it is, and I'll wait to see the release.
Cool. Okay, let's move on to Antoine's second story for today.
Okay, I just want to talk about which one. Okay, let's go with Bad Brain, because I was picking a lot of MMO stories, so let's finish the MMO straight away. Maybe do you know NetEase? NetEase is a Chinese video game company, and you must have heard them from the Blizzard. Not too long ago, Blizzard was in the Chinese market with NetEase, because you can't just go as a Western company, sell your stuff by yourself in China. You need to have a local company to play with, I guess, or to market your product with. NetEase, as I guess they are in trouble with the Chinese context of selling video games at the moment. So what they did, they created a new studio right here at home in Montreal and Toronto. And they call it Bad Brain Games. And their aim is to release in 2024. It's a name, so expect delays and everything. But they want to create an MMO, which sounded very fun and slightly dangerous, I would say, for a risky bet. They say Steven Spielberg meets Stephen King. They want an MMO really based in the 80s reference. It's, for me, when I heard that and I read through it, I was like, okay, it's a Ready Player One, but with Stephen King, maybe a bit more creepy, I guess. That's kind of dangerous, because if you do it just for reference sake, the movie Ready Player One wasn't very well accepted because it was just reference for reference and playing on the nostalgia of player. Here we are talking of an MMO which is gonna span hundreds of game hours. It's not just a 2-hour movie, so definitely it's gonna be a different experience. But that could be fun, I don't know the name of the guy, but when he was doing the interview, he had the Ghostbuster stuff on the wall, the decoration and things like this. So apparently they are really a fan of this 80s movies or things like this, or at least pop culture, and they want to do an MMO based on that. So it sounds intriguing, maybe risky, but if it's well done, because sorry, but I don't think Ready Player One was well done. I really don't think so. But if it's a well done and well conceived project, that could be very fun. So another MMO I'm looking forward to, 2024 for now, but this Bad Brain company is barely emerging here. I don't know when they were created, but that's quite new. So I don't know how experienced the team are. But Montreal, it's very easy to get a lot of developers around. It's the city for the game studios. So I'm sure they can really steal people from Ubisoft and etc. around. So we'll see what they do, but it seems quite intriguing and interesting.
Adam, what do you think?
I think it'll be interesting to see what they do with it. They said in the article there that they feel that they can only really do this because they have NetEase backing them. So they were saying that normally they'd be a little bit worried to take on a project like this because of the financial risk. But with NetEase backing them, they're like, okay, that mitigates some of the risk because, we have somebody able to pay it. But I'd be interesting to see this because it seems like a lot of 80s, there's a lot of 80s nostalgia recently. What was it? The other game, Generation Zero, I think, was a game from Sweden or Finland or something like that. It wasn't.
Yeah, Sweden.
Sweden, okay. It wasn't an MMO, but I mean, it was multiplayer, right? And so there seems to be kind of that that desire for that sort of thing. As far as an MMO goes, I'd be really curious to see what they want to do with it, because I mean, similar to what Antoine was saying with Pharaoh, you know, when you have these fantasy things, you can go in any direction you want and you can make everything super exciting. But then when you want to base something off of reality, you're a lot more limited, right? Because I mean, obviously cultures will share information between each other, and you know, it's like if somebody sees a chariot and they're like, wow, that's working out really well, I should do that too. They're just going to copy it, right? So, you know, there's a lot more homogeny in reality. And in, you know, an MMO set in the 80s, you know, what's your conflict going to be exactly, right? You know, I mean, are you going to be like fighting bullies at school, or you know, how far are they going to take
Well,
it? Is it going to be more like a Generation Zero thing where it's like, okay, well, this is a what if scenario? So I'd be really curious to see what they do with it, and where they want to go with it.
I don't see it based on reality at all, because really between Spielberg and Stephen King, it's lots of different universe you can explore. You know, like the Ghostbusters or you know, like just Jurassic Park, you know, for Spielberg, or Mist, you know, for King. This guy is really mental. I love his books, right? It's just he's completely mentally deranged. But you know, there's so many universe that these guys have done. You know, like extra physics. You know, lots of spiritual world and things like this. I don't think they are really limited to anything in this.
Yeah, and I think that for me, that's the curiosity, is which direction are they going to go in it? Are they going to go in it like Generation Zero, where it's okay, this is, you know, robots have taken over the world and we're the 1980s people fighting robots, or is it going to be more like Ghostbusters, where it's going to be a supernatural thing, or is it going to be I mean, Jurassic Park is 90s, right? But you know, like a science
Yeah.
gone amok kind of, maybe Reanimator would be a better example. I believe that was made in the 80s, but you know, is it a science gone amok kind of thing? So I'd be really curious to see how much of it is a creative vision and how much of it is just like, and you know, like how much of it is we want this 80s aesthetic, and what the balance between the two are going to be. You know, so everyone's running around, you know, it's like, oh, I've unlocked a new piece of armor, it's a really puffy jacket, right? So I'm curious, you know, or like this one's neon orange instead of neon green. um so I'd be really curious to see exactly with the hair and everything. So I'm really curious to see where they go with it, because yeah, there are a lot of directions that they can go. Like, is it going to be more ET, or is it going to be more Jaws? You know, so yeah.
Now I can imagine you unlock the leather jacket. Let's go.
Exactly.
Fantastic.
I'm still waiting for an MMO that's gonna be strictly PvE only. Because I think I played the closed beta of World of Warcraft. Oh God, like a long time ago. And then I played Arcade, was the only one where I played until I got to like max level in Arcade, and then I'm like, okay, now if you really want to progress the game, you have to do PvP content. I'm like, God, no. And it was fun and exciting, but it was way too stressful to do PvP content. So I just want a PvE MMO where I don't have to be afraid of running out of my safe zone and somebody saying, hey, you guy, give me all your stuff, otherwise I'm gonna steal it. I'm like, wow, this sucks. So
Most
yeah,
have
no,
PvE servers, right? Like World of Warcraft has PvE servers, and Final Fantasy 14 is notoriously
Yeah, exactly.
they're notorious for their PvP not being the best, and completely a
Yeah.
side thing that you can completely ignore if you want.
but I mean, like, okay, you guys know Final Fantasy 14, right? So like, are there things locked in PvP in Final Fantasy 14?
Only some gear that, like, if only some gear that if you want to,
Cosmetics.
yeah, cosmetics, it's cosmetic stuff.
See,
Uh, Even the PvP armor that you get are purely PvP stats. If you take them out on your PvE boss monster, are useless because it's not the right stats. So
Yeah. So I mean, it's just an aesthetic. If you're like, oh, this looks cool. There are some things where you're like, oh, that looks cool, and I want to use that as a glamour, so I want to make my armor look that way. You know, and I've done that before, or I've unlocked some mounts that way. But as far as gameplay, it's most people never touch it. It's a very
okay.
niche thing in the game.
Sounds cool. I guess okay. I should clarify this, like, because I know Adam, you told me about Final Fantasy 14 before, and I think I talked about Albion Online once, which is just like I want to do like a massive multiplayer online game, and have, oh God, this is going to sound horribly boring, farming and that sort of stuff. Like like, damn, what is that Nintendo Switch game, Antoine? Animal Crossing.
Animal Crossing?
Animal
On
Crossing
MMO?
Online. Yes, I'd like to do that. Or like My Time at Sandrock Online, right? Like, oh, that has multiplayer. Right? Or will have
Farming
multiplayer.
simulator in a fantasy setting online.
Oh,
That sounds good.
Yeah,
That'd be
yeah,
great.
yeah. Oh god, I would be totally down with that. Like, go
Yeah,
and kill
just
some monsters and stuff, and like combat be an option, so you can do stuff. It's sort of, I mean, sort of like Valheim. And like Valheim, when you log in, you're like, okay, today I don't feel like killing anything. I'm gonna go shoot some deer, gather some stones. That's it, right? Like brainless stuff. But yeah.
yeah.
I think we should
Nice.
jump into Adam's third story because I want to
skip
see
yours?
what that is. Yes, skip mine because also want to talk about bolt gun as well when Anton talks about it.
All right. So this will be pretty quick then. So basically, oops, that's the wrong one. Again, twice. Destiny is closing out their, I guess they just closed out their Season of the Defiant. So now it is time for Season of the Deep. And I guess Season of the Defiant wasn't received super well story-wise, but they did have some things with engrams. If you've played Destiny, you would know that engrams are basically the equivalent of the game's in-game loot box. You don't pay for it, but you know, when you kill enemies, they sometimes drop engrams, and you can then turn those engrams in for armor and that sort of thing, and you get kind of a random piece of armor or whatever. So in the previous season, you could do certain tasks to unlock engrams that were specific to that season, and that was how you got the best gear for that season. Well, now that the new season has started, what are we doing with all these extra engrams that we have? You know, or do we just lose them? Well, it turns out you can still use them, but you will be. It turns out you can still use them, but you can't use them for new season stuff. You can only use them for older season things. So basically, you're going to get gear that could start you off for this season, but it's not going to be carrying you through. So that's basically it. A lot of people were worried because I guess in previous seasons they've had things that ways basically when the season ends, things become worthless. In this case, they are not worthless. You can still use them. They are just not going to be super helpful moving forward. They're just going to be helpful in getting you caught up. So that's the news.
Cool. Yeah, no, I was like wondering. I mean, do people still play Destiny? I'm looking at right now. There's 166,000 people still playing Destiny 2 as of an hour ago on Steam.
Yep.
So I was like, damn, it's I don't understand it because like Adam, you and I played Destiny, right? Because it's crossplay, and I was like, okay, this is cool, this is fun, but I like it's not like like saying making me feel I have to play this every day, right? Like when I played Arcade, I'm like, man, this was awesome. I have to play this every day. But like Destiny 2 was like, it's fun, it's cool, shooting is great, but it was not. I don't know, it just didn't do it for me.
It's super popular, and Destiny's one of those things where it seems like they don't really know what they're doing with the IP. When the original Destiny came out, it was super hype because everyone thought of Halo, and it came out and it was just underwhelming. A lot of things that they had kind of promised weren't there. Later updates brought the game up that it just had this resurgence, and then it became super popular. Destiny 2 came out. They undid a lot of the things that they had done to improve the game, and then everyone was like, oh my god, what have they done? They've completely botched this. And then I guess in subsequent seasons they've kind of come back. People are like, oh no, they did it. They did it again. They made the game good again. And then I guess recently they were kind of like, okay, the shooting is fun and the gameplay loop is fun, but the story is just now a mess. And yeah, it's just all over the place.
Yeah, it's interesting. I'm like, okay, what are look at the top 10? Like freaking Destiny's third most played game on Steam as of this moment, right? Counter-Strike number 1, Dota number 2, Destiny number 3, and then by a huge 70,000 player gap, Apex is number 4. So it's impressive.
Yeah, it's
I gotta
still
say
very
that.
popular.
Yeah.
The only thing that I kind of am kind of concerned about, and this is part of the reason why, I mean, I thought Destiny was okay, but one thing that gets me is that the fact that they do all these seasons and then they do release the updates is, it feels like when they redo a season, all the previous stuff is gone. So I feel like for me, somebody who hasn't played in a long time, I just miss that story. You just immediately kind of jump into where the story is right now. And since the game is progressing, it's kind of like, okay, I can't start from the beginning and work, catch up. I kind of just am thrown into where we are right now, So like if there were planets that they took out or things like that, they're just gone. And so for me, as somebody who's been out of Destiny for a long time, I'm kind of like, some of these things look tempting, but what I want, I'd feel like, oh, okay, now I have to go watch all these lore videos and stuff. I can't experience it myself because it's gone, so I have to look at lore videos online or watch all this stuff just to catch up to figure out what's going on. And for me, that's kind of like, I'd rather play through it and experience the story, but can't do that now. So I feel like for certain people, it would be difficult to get into if you don't stick with it all the time. But maybe that's part of the appeal is once people get in, they're like, okay, I have to keep doing this because I want to keep up with it. So maybe that's why I can maintain those numbers.
Perhaps. Okay, let's move on to Antoine's story, Warhammer Bolt Gun.
Absolutely, yes. So it was released, last week or something, and the first reviews are in. It's pretty good for a Warhammer game because remember that Game Workshop gives the Warhammer license to about anyone, and few games in the Warhammer license are good. But apparently, Bolgum is one of the good ones. So just to tell you what it's about, it's Doom, pixelated,
Pixelated, you're right.
How do you say it? Thank you. You can, if it really hurts your eyes, there's a setting where you can put more or less pixels. It can be smoother if you prefer it to be. Okay, so don't let that stop you. And you are an ultramarine. Why? Because that's the most popular legion of Space Marine. And before there's a shitstorm, popular because it's the most well known, right? I'm a salamander man myself, right? So please, no, don't hate me for this. Ultramarines are the most well-known, and that's why they are in every Warhammer games. Well, so it seems to be a very good game with big points on level design. Apparently, the level design is really good. You have 8 weapons, including the heavy bolter, plasma gun, melta gun, etc., with your sword.
Chainsword.
Thank you. Chainsword. I was like, in French, it's much easier. Anyway, you have 8 weapons, which is good, but apparently a bit lacking to the taste of some people. And the only kind of bad point of this game would be the fact that mid-game, you don't have any more new enemies. You will have, as enemies, you will have chaos marines, demons, things like this. Apparently, no orcs, eldars, or anything like this. So that's it. There's quite a lack of enemies, maybe 20 different sprites, and that's what you will have. That's it. But again, it's really being held by a strong story. There's not a big plot here. It's just run and shoot, to be clear. But it seems like the story is nice and the level design is fantastic, and the game, the core of the game, the shooting game, is exhilarating. It's really good. You go on a purge and you kill the heretics and you have fun because the Emperor protects, and that's what you want. So it looks to be really cool. I'm not, the kind of guy who would play Doom or things like this, but that sounds fun. So what do you think, Krian? Will you play this one?
Oh yeah, for sure. Like I was a few months ago, and I think this is like the perfect time for this kind of game because I was looking like, what is an FPS that everyone can play, right? I'm like, there's like literally no FPS games that anyone can play on the market that didn't come out like a year ago or 2 years ago or 3 years ago, right? And I'm like, a few months ago when I was looking at like periodic, I'm like, okay, I need to shoot something. And I'm like, oh, there's literally nothing to shoot, right? There's, I think that is why I ended up installing Uncharted Legacy of Thieves because there's some shooting there. But one of the things that disappointed me there is that there's a lot of freaking jumping around like Spider-Man, except you don't have any superpowers in Uncharted, right? But this is on my Steam wishlist. I'm playing Valheim now. I'm playing V Rising now. And like I said, we do have a Valheim server, so I get to play every day now as opposed to once a week. But as soon as I am really in the mood for something to shoot, I'll just probably buy it because it is $19.79 on Steam. I don't know whether it has that weird price point. And to correct Antoine, it came out yesterday, or technically today for Antoine, right? Or the 23rd of May. So this is a brand new game. It is widely reviewed well. I suspect a lot of people will like it. Very good price point. As the trailer shows, lots of nostalgia for that graphical sort of the way it looks. I don't imagine, 19, 21-year-old Warhammer fans are going to be playing this just because I think they don't like pixelated games, maybe. But I mean, then we're talking about Roblox and sort of voxel architecture. But yeah, no, I'm definitely down for this. What do you think, Adam?
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely super nostalgic. I was wondering what the price point was, and yeah, you said it was a, and this seems like the kind of game that you could probably make pretty easily. I'm kind of curious how long it took them to develop it and how quickly they were able to get it out versus, or like how much of it did they rebuild and how much of it did they just use an old Doom engine and be like, hey, let's just make it easy on ourselves. And
Unreal Engine 4.
oh, okay.
Yeah.
I guess they did build it from the ground up then.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, it looks really fun and super simple. So, and it looks like one of those games that basically any PC will be able to run.
Yes. Exactly.
And there's little touches which are fun, for the Warhammer hardcore. Like you don't have armor, you have contempt because it's of the pledge of the Space Marine. My armor is my contempt. Okay, fair enough. So that's it in the game. You don't have any armor, but that's fun.
Yeah, I like that they advertise that it's on a floppy disk.
All right, gents, with 2 minutes to spare, what's the week looking like gaming-wise? Adam, streaming.
Streaming, yeah, I don't know. I'm kind of all over the place. I might do some more Besieged, or I'll probably do some more Besieged. I didn't finish the project I was working on, so I might see if I can get any further on that. Otherwise, we'll see. Frozen Flame, I would play, but I need to get up to level 10, I feel, because until then you don't have flight, and without flight, the game's kind of just me grinding, and who wants to watch that, right? Once I have flight, I can start doing building and stuff again. So maybe some Frozen Flame. I'll probably do Besieged on Friday, though.
Antoine, what about you? What are you playing?
Very short game like Death is Coming with some shorts you will see on the channel, but that's basically what I'm doing these days.
Nice. And yeah, no, please keep an eye out for Antoine's shorts and Adam's shorts. I'm sure lots of you guys loved Adam's robot on Facebook. So if you do like it on Facebook, don't forget to reshare on your Facebook channel. I mean, that is wonderful. And with that, with a few seconds to go, hope you guys enjoyed today's podcast. Don't forget to like, share, subscribe. Again, share, Twitter, Blue Sky. If anyone has a Blue Sky invite, I'd love to get one. And then we'll talk to you guys next week.
Bye.
Later.